This is the worst storm I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe it.
When is it going to stop? That's my question.
Blizzard was a time bomb.
We didn't have time to move. The water came up that fast.
My basement's falling in, and this house is going to be a total loss unless we get somebody in here to help us.
We don't know how much of anything, we're going to lose.
A lot of destruction.
Ice is very dangerous. It has enormous power. It can cut through a building. It can slice you in half. It's going to be a long time probably to get straightened out.
The grim statistics of disaster. January of 1996 is a month few will ever forget. The blizzard, the flood, and the freezing cold all reveal the awesome and unrelenting power of Mother Nature. The snow started falling early on the morning of January 7th. After the snowiest November and December on record, the blizzard of '96 began. As dawn gave way to full daylight, it was clear this was no ordinary storm.
Look back to behind me. You can barely see Columbia Avenue, barely 100 yards away.
Things have gone from bad to worse here. We're at the Capitol complex in Harrisburg. You can see already the snowfall toters are building, and this is just at the front edge of the storm.
Well, Sarah, as you can see, there's just plenty of snow over here. If we try walking over it, this is just stuff that's been plowed earlier today. It is pretty deep. And even out here on the sidewalks, nobody's been out here today, so it is hard to keep up with all the snow that's coming down. We noticed this sled over here, and it might be the best way to get around today because it seems like the roads are just piling up. We had a couple of horses, we'd be all set. A guy just went by on a snow machine, so people are finding any way they can to get out in this weather.
We're here along South George Street, one of the main snow emergency routes in the city. It's limited to one lane. Snowplow has been through, but as you can see, there's still a good 6 inches of snow on the road surface.
Before the skies started to clear on Monday morning, more than 2 feet of snow had piled up. On the internet, we had reports of 24 inches in Lebanon, 29 inches in Gettysburg, 32 inches in York, 30 inches in Lancaster, and 23 inches in Harrisburg. And all that light 8 feet high and more.
It's worse than '93. I can't believe it. This is unbelievable.
We're completely bogged down. This city will be bogged down, I think, for another 2 to 3 days.
It snowed for more than 30 hours, burying everything under a blanket of icy white.
Out on a mountain in the daylight, I can see the full impact of this storm. It is just incredible. There are mountains of snow everywhere, and people are trying to best they can to shovel out their cars, but I tell you, it is going to be some task for some people.
There is a flurry of activity on Lancaster streets. Mother Nature left behind a heavy white coat of snow that everybody's got and no one wants.
Pile one place, and then the guy behind you piles, and then he piles you in, and then the next guy piles the next guy in, and
it ain't easy. You got to take breaks. Ain't trying to get no heart attack. Ambulance can't get in here.
Oh my gosh. It's a community effort all around.
Group effort, that's right, yeah. Some of the neighbors have been out helping other neighbors who, a little too old to be out here.
A spirit of community has emerged. Residents in many neighborhoods are pitching in to help each other dig out in this time of crisis.
We get a lot of negative publicity up here to 300 block of King Street, but we want everybody to know that we are a community and we will work together.
No kidding. I don't like shoveling it. I could do without the shoveling. I think I should have bought a snowblower 2 years ago when we had the last big snowstorm.
Right now, Dick, we're standing in Market Square in the heart of downtown Harrisburg, usually a hubbub of activity on a typical Monday morning. But as you can see around me, the square is virtually deserted except for a few people walking out of the various hotels where they've been staying overnight after they got stranded in town.
Planes can only sit and wait with runways still full of snow.
Many found themselves fighting delays, cancellation.
I go to school in Florida. I go to college in Florida, and it's actually why I went to school in Florida, so that I wouldn't have to be here for all this terrible snow.
It's not a good thing. I watched the dollars rack up on my car rental and sitting in a house and no way to get to the grocery store, so it's not a great thing to do.
While crews at the airport used huge snow blowers to clear the runways, the massive effort to clear the roadways continued.
The folks in Lancaster, here's one crew, they are trying to plow the main roads and get them clear. They're trying desperately to get 2 lanes going on the main roads downtown. But Richard Nisley, the Director of Public Works, says that may be tough.
Their principal objective is to establish 2 lines of traffic, 2 travel lanes on each of the main streets, and then trying to push back to generate some parking if at all possible.
Do you think that's going to be possible?
I'm not overly optimistic.
We're a long ways to go. With 34 inches of snow, it's just a difficult task. We really don't have the equipment that is needed to remove this volume of snow. We've got 2 front-end loaders and 8 dump trucks right now removing all the snow that was on Market Street.
The work continued around the clock, but Mother Nature was unrelenting.
It's going to be drifting and high winds and gusts that could reach 50 miles per hour. So in our estimation, it's a worsening situation, and we need to speak to public safety.
A state of emergency was declared in most of Pennsylvania. The governor shut down virtually every road in the state to give crews a chance to work. By Tuesday morning, things were improving. Most major roads were open, and the driving ban was lifted. But that was little comfort to people whose cars were still buried.
The plow comes right down and plows you right back in out here when they do show up.
We just can't get down the narrow streets with cars parked on both sides and the blades of the trucks. We just can't take the chance. So it's just impossible to get around 85% of the streets in the city of York.
You don't know what you're supposed to do, which way to go. It's like they tell you to move, and then you move, and then they tell you, oh, now you can't park at the garage anymore. You got to find elsewhere to park, and you wind up back where you started from.
You're going to throw it out, but then you got to be able to drive it away, okay? We'll get them all one at a time. See if we get it out. Good job, guys. Good job.
Then the news no one wanted to hear. Another storm, another big snowfall would hit by the end of the week.
Meanwhile, in cities like Harrisburg, crews continue to make headway, clearing snow off of streets that may end up snow-covered once again.
We're scared to death, to tell you the truth. Any new accumulation of snow is extremely unwelcome news.
With more on the way, clearing all the snow dumped by the blizzard took on a new urgency.
If we have to deal with additional snow and we don't have these streets open, we are going to come to gridlock in the city of Lancaster.
If they're not removed, they will be towed for snow removal.
Back on 3rd Street, police pleaded with neighbors to get their cars off the road, and they were making good on their promise to tow cars that were not removed.
Get off the road and let us do our job.
Work, can't get to the grocery store, so we just stuck.
We've been out of milk and bread since yesterday. Nobody has it, and I called out, and they have it. That's why I'm coming out for it.
As quickly as the milk was put out, customers whisked it away.
Store shelves were nearly bare, and with a new storm on the horizon, the rush was on to get whatever was left.
They're out of toilet paper, paper towels, juices, soaps.
Sleep was also in short supply. After a week of non-stop work, road crews already running on empty, braced for more.
We are going to make a conscious effort throughout the next 48 hours or so to try to give our people some break. Some of them haven't been home since early Sunday morning when the storm first started. They need to change their clothes, they need a shower, they need to get something warm to eat, they need to see their own bed for a few hours.
But the break would not last long. Snow started falling again Friday morning.
I've been driving from the west shore to the east shore, and it's been on the road for 3 hours now.
3 hours to get from the west shore to the east shore?
East shore. I tried to run up 11 and 15, and I couldn't do that. Turned around, came back down here. I'm trying to cut across Harrisburg to get home.
Up to a foot of new snow fell on Friday. The official total for the week, 38.9 inches.
It's really a mess. Yeah, it's hard to shovel out and you don't have anywhere to put it. It's piled up everywhere.
Where's all this snow going? Just follow the trucks over the Market Street Bridge to City Island. Parking lots have been transformed into enormous mountains of snow, piled 3 to 4 stories high. Some of these drivers have been going non-stop for hours, some moving the snow from the city, others pushing it from one hill to another to make room for more.
How much longer do you think you're going to make it?
Dinner time, 11:30, 12:30.
That'll put you on a good 30-hour pace right there.
Close.
This is something that I wouldn't believe if I weren't actually looking at it as I sink in here. The snow is everywhere. There are hills and valleys. It's its own little world. But I tell you, you could see just how much snow there really was.
The weight of all the snow was more than many buildings could take. Parts of the Lebanon Chemical Corporation, the First Baptist Church in Susquehanna Township, dozens of businesses, and countless porch roofs collapsed under the enormous weight of the snow.
The snow will actually get heavier as it sits on roofs because it absorbs moisture from the air. We're urging everybody to clear snow.
In Harrisburg, inmates from Camp Hill Prison worked to clear the sagging roof of the State Farm Show complex. A week earlier, the blizzard kept crowds away from the State Farm Show. Those who did make it had their choice of seats for events that are usually standing room only. Now the weather threatened the auto show. Melting snow poured in through the damaged roof. Outside, temperatures were rising and the rain was falling. The changing weather pushed Paxton Creek out of its banks, flooding the farm show's boiler room, the first victim of round 3. Ten days earlier, it was a combination of moisture from the south and cold air from the north that created all the snow. Now that snow was part of a new formula for disaster.
With the threat of heavy rain over the next several days, we are concerned about the potential of flooding.
On January 18th, the high approached 50 degrees. An eerie, menacing fog rose from the snow piles. Then it started to rain. Roads that were buried in snow a week earlier were now covered with water.
Lancaster County Emergency Management says one of its main concerns is streams overflowing. Here in Earl Township, Mill Creek has overflowed onto Meadow Creek Road, making it impassable.
The destructive power of the rising water was felt almost immediately.
We're not going to have a place to live. We're going to lose everything. Linda Bear owns one of the 6 townhomes in East Petersburg that is condemned because of a wall collapse.
Today's storm again pushed the floodwaters on Christ Creek over its banks. The fast-moving water quickly surrounded several trailers at the lower end of the park and threatened to go even higher.
This is heartbreaking. I have all my savings and everything into my home, and it's washing downstream right now.
On Route 441 in Scuadero Township behind the Harrisburg East Mall, the rain-swollen Spring Creek overflowed its banks, trapping motorists like Vicki Phillips of Dauphin County who drove through it. The engine of her Jeep conked out after she drove into the middle of a 2-foot deep puddle. She was in her car for more than half an hour before rescuers showed up.
Well, I was a little concerned because it was rising. And like I said, when I started across, it was not that deep. There was not a barricade up warning me. So I regret trying to cross, but I did anyhow.
The Susquehanna and her tributaries were supposed to rise slowly over that weekend, cresting a little above flood stage by Monday morning. Again, Mother Nature proved unpredictable.
New Cumberland residents awoke to police pounding on their doors in the middle of the night. The water was rising much faster than anticipated. Within hours, several blocks were underwater.
You guys get the chair?
Susan Kitzmiller rushed to her roofing business, which was quickly going under.
We're trying to save everybody else from the roofs collapsing, and now we're turning around the same situation they were in. Now we need help getting everything out. It's horrible. It's just horrible. People don't realize how bad that it can be.
The blizzard was a time bomb that has been detonated over the past couple of days.
It's just impossible. First the snow, now it melts and flood, and we don't know how much of anything, we're going to lose, how high the water is going to get.
An extensive evacuation has been instituted and is taking place as we speak.
Then the worry starts compounding.
what I'm doing to work tonight, but
it's peaceful here because once we get to leave here, there's going to be a lot to deal with.
A lot of it is emotional. From what we've seen of people in our shelters, the people who've been here at the service centers, under the circumstances, they're doing quite well.
Me at 42. Which end do they want us on? Lower end. Because of the current, they're going to come straight down through.
The same story was playing out in riverside communities up and down the Susquehanna Valley. And it would get worse before it got better.
Right, take it up this late on top.
The ice is clogged up in the river and it's backing up. It's across 624 now. See, it's up into the houses here and they're evacuating.
You know, pretty fast?
Yeah, real quick. I believe quicker than most people have expected. You see here they're getting last minute efforts here to get their valuables out.
Just take it right over top that recliner.
keep coming and I'll take it from here and smart for the cameras.
Well, I thank the Lord for friends and keep reminding myself, well, it's just a house, even though we'll probably be starting over or close to it.
The water's been coming up the highest we've seen it in years. We got everybody right along the river evacuated.
The flooding along the Susquehanna will be similar to that experienced in September of 1975.
On Front Street in Marietta, folks are taking no chances. Harold and Nancy Pullman called in a moving truck this morning and decided it was time to evacuate the furniture.
We've taken all the furniture out of the first floor and emptied the basement completely.
I notified the governor's mansion earlier today of the imminent prospect of evacuation. The governor has been or is going to be relocated from the mansion to the State Police Academy in Hershey and will remain there until the mansion is accessible and damage repaired.
Around the corner and along the pounding Susquehanna River, remains of the New Cumberland Boating Club, demolished in a matter of minutes, turned almost halfway around by chunks of rushing ice. How fast did it come up?
In 10 minutes, from 7 feet to 16 feet.
10 minutes?
In 10 minutes, yes.
The New Cumberland Boat Club had survived other floods, so had the historic Walnut Street Bridge.
The Walnut Street Bridge collapsed this afternoon, multiple spans in the section between City Island and the West Shore.
I heard somebody shout, say, "Look at that!" And I looked, and I saw what they saw. It was amazing.
Just got washed away.
Washed away. I think the ice just completely toppled it.
The river, of course, carried it down to the Market Street Bridge. At the moment, it's not creating a damming effect. We don't expect that it would unless debris such as trees, homes, and things would get caught up in it. Ice is very dangerous. It has enormous power. It can cut through a building, it can slice you in half, and obviously it can knock down bridges.
I think this is obviously the dramatic shot that everybody will probably remember from the Harrisburg area.
News 8's chief photographer John Campbell saw the damage from above.
Because it just looked so strange to see that bridge cut right in half almost. You know, when you're shooting from a helicopter, there isn't a whole lot of emotion because you're so far away from the scene. But when you look at pictures like this, of course this is the Shipoke area. And, you know, I live in a historic district like these folks do, and I understand what it's like to live in a district like this. And so it kind of struck me because, you know, I felt something for those people. We took off here from the station Sunday morning and went right to the southern part of Lancaster County. And to Safe Harbor because we wanted to see, you know, what it looked like down there. And this is rather amazing, the amount of ice that had jammed up against the dam.
Millions of gallons of muddy, icy water churned over the spillway every second.
My grandpa helped build the dam here at Safe Harbor. He would be surprised. He would say he's never seen anything like this before.
My dad told me when he was little, my grandpa took in these big chunks of ice, but I never really seen anything like this.
They predicted that this wasn't going to hit until Sunday from what we heard from Safe Harbor, but looks like it hit a little bit earlier.
In York County, the Long Level area was hardest hit.
We didn't have time to move.
It's raised about 3 feet in the last hour and 15 minutes.
This morning it wasn't really hitting because we didn't think it would come up this far. But well, now I can't help but think about it. Watched all my friends go underneath the water over there.
I want to try to see
You got people here, Rescue 60s.
if I can get a boat. Maybe I can get in there and get some more of that stuff up higher.
I've got about a foot and a half before it gets in the second floor.
It's pretty bad. I never saw anything like this.
In Washington Borough, Lancaster County, Water Street was just that.
What's it like in the basement?
Mud. Everything's turned all around. Everything's laying everywhere. It's a mess.
The water continued to rise through Saturday night into Sunday. In Marietta, Front Street and the historic homes all along it were under several feet of water. The river was so high and icy, the gauge that measures the river in Marietta was unable to give an accurate reading. But you didn't need a gauge to see the river was well above flood stage.
Any idea just how fast the water is rising at this point?
Well, I'll give you an example. We had done a live shot at 5 o'clock, and within 10 minutes, this place that I was standing on the road was completely covered in water and was inching up the tripod of the camera, so it is moving very quickly.
I also have a resident up here from the 400 block East Front Street. He has a basement full of water.
Most of the basements we're doing might have anywhere from 4 to 6 foot of water in them.
And the water was still rising.
The next 24 to 48 hours is going to be pretty much a wait and see thing and see what it does. I guess we're pretty much at the mercy of the water now.
That's shot.
The water crested in most places by late Sunday night, but it was Monday afternoon or later before the Susquehanna and all the creeks and streams that flow into her were below flood stage. In Harrisburg, the water reached more than 25 feet, about 8 feet above flood stage. In Marietta, they estimate the water crested between 56 and 57 feet, 7 feet out of its banks. As the waters fell, the full extent of the damage was revealed.
That's terrible.
What's in here? What is some of this
Christmas decorations, Christmas, first kids' Christmases and stuff like that.
All the babies, like toys and bassinets and stuff, were all ripped up now, and stuff when the water came down, collapsed on it. You know, the washer and dryer's upside down.
It's terribly painful. You know, I have my children's toys and some of the memorabilia from when they were babies, you know, it was in the basement and it's gone. Those things can't be replaced.
The personal losses from the flooding were adding up.
You know, we made a claim, but they told us, you know, it's going to take a couple days. Well, my house doesn't have a couple days. It's not like I have a wet basement and my couches got wet. My basement's falling in, and this house is going to be a total loss unless we get somebody in here to help us.
Moving water packs a powerful punch. Just 6 inches of water moving at 8 miles an hour pushes with a force of more than 260 pounds per square foot. Neighborhoods like this one were hit with much more than 6 inches of water, traveling much faster than 8 miles an hour, enough to move this concrete wall more than 12 feet across a basement floor.
Chunks of ice just came in, just busted all those glass doors and just came in and started piling up.
The swollen river carried huge boulders of ice that just smashed everything in their path. The river terrace at Catalano's restaurant on Harrisburg's west shore was crushed. In Long Level, the damage done by the ice lay hidden under the water for days.
The ice is the whole way up the street. Big, huge blocks of boulders, ice. Just unbelievable. Never pictured it to be like this. Never.
It's just
it might be totaled. Because I don't know. I mean, the frame stood, you know, the A-frame that's up the street, completely picked up and on its side.
And we bought the boat in '86, and it's our summer home here. I think all the damage I'm going to have, though, from what I can see, is the pontoons and getting her off of that precarious position. I don't know how we're going to do it.
Boats all over here. I mean, you know, what you have?
Well, these larger boats were, like I say, up kind of away from the river as much as possible. Now, when the water came up, they floated, and they floated down here. We had them all tied together. We had ropes tied to everything, and when the water goes down, they kind of settle wherever they stop.
The huge blocks of ice moved as quickly as the water carried them.
Any idea what you're going to do with the pods? You're going to just leave them sit there.
Fast enough to knock a 1.5-mile long freight train right off the tracks.
The crew observed as they were coming up the river a large ice jam coming towards them. And at that time, they stopped their train and cut the engines away and brought them up to a safe location where they could get off.
The train sat for days, pinned by the ice between the river and a hillside. It took more than a week for crews using bulldozers to push the frozen river off the tracks. In Harrisburg, a smaller train was among the big losses on City Island. From the air, the damage looked bad. From the ground, it looked even worse.
Very extensive damage and loss has occurred to City Island. Frankly, at this point, City Island as a park is non-existent.
The water left a messy mix of ice and mud across City Island. In the river, the collapsed sections of the Walnut Street Bridge were uncovered as the water fell. The thick steel beams wrapped around Market Street Bridge like pipe cleaners.
Force of the ice and all took it around. It didn't just fold it flat in against or anything, it tangled it.
It took more than a week to clear the amazing mess. And that was only a small part of a cleanup that would take months.
We do not intend for the flood of 1996 to dampen either our enthusiasm and nor our vision for this waterfront and for our city and the region. We'll be back bigger and better than ever.
Total losses from the blizzard and the flood approach $1 billion.
It'll take us many years to recover.
It wasn't the biggest blizzard ever to hit the Susquehanna Valley, and we have seen worse flooding. But added together, the string of storms makes January 1996 a month for the history books.
We still got weeks of work ahead of us. We don't have no utilities or anything. It's going to be a long time probably to get straightened out.
This is an unprecedented period, stressful and very, very expensive, and is going to be, frankly, quite some time before recovery can be fully effected. And in some cases, I think there are some permanent losses too.